Hey guys, welcome in. It is Brad with College SportsCast. We are here to continue our summer series of the SEC Media Days, Day 3. Hey guys, welcome back. It is Brad with College Sportscast. I've got John Hammonds on here with me. What's up, Hammonds?
What's up, man?
Day 3 of the SEC Media Days has concluded. We'll get to that in just a few minutes. But first, welcome into College Sportscast. This is our summer series. We do this yearly. This is our second time now covering the SEC Media Days. And that is what I consider our summer series week. And we're in the middle of that right now, covering the SEC Media Days for Day 3. At the bottom of the screen, we're talking about True Victory there. Log on. I did some True Victory stuff the other day. Use our code TheFanboys. It's a veteran-owned company, sportswear. Check them out. Paul Skeens is one of their spokespeople, so check them out. They have some really cool stuff. However, I am going to talk a little bit here with you guys about home field apparel. And I'm going to start this out by showing you when you order something from Home Field Apparel, minus the package that it comes in and you take it out, this is a package from Home Field Apparel. And I want to show you guys exactly what you're going to get here. This is the packaging of Home Field Apparel. And on the inside of the package here, you get a little card here. And at the back side of the card, it gives you, and I'm going to cover it up so you can't get it, but it gives you a 20% discount. So when you order, this little card gives you a 20% discount. You get the neat little package with the Home Field logo on the package itself. Pretty cool packaging. And then this is a shirt that I ordered for John Roberts, who is an Auburn alum and Auburn fan and covers Auburn baseball for us. So I am going to show you guys the special Auburn Peacock baseball shirt. This is a special shirt, retro logo by Home Field Apparel. Just pulled it out of the package for you guys. Want to show you guys exactly some of the quality of stuff that you get when you order from Home Field Apparel. I hope you guys enjoyed that little display, but I wanted to show you guys just a little bit. They have premium licensed collegiate apparel. As you can see, go to homefieldapparel.com. There's over 150 or 180, teams to choose from. They are actually increasing the number of teams this month. Some lower tiered teams that they are adding. I think like Northern Arizona might be one. There's a lower tiered Florida school that they've added this month. There's about 4 or 5 they're adding. Use our code CSCAST if you are a first-time buyer, and that'll get you a 15% discount for your first-time buyer. But they have some really cool retro logos, mascots, throwback items, throwback jerseys, vintage baseball jerseys. Like I said, this was an Auburn shirt, and I just wanted to show it to you. We do have a link that if you use our link at Home Field Apparel, that we get a little bit of kickback on that as well. And you can find that link at greenvillesportsmedia.com on the website. You might have to scroll down, but you can find the Home Field Apparel logo. This little logo right there, the little symbol, stadium symbol here. If you go to the website, you can find that little logo, and that logo will use our link for you to shop at Home Field Apparel at greenvillesportsmedia.com.
And I got a shop. I got a shirt from Home Field. It's a Houston Cougar shirt, so it's really good business. They've upped it since I bought something. They brought in some new stuff, new retro stuff. So
I've got a retro Kentucky Untouchables.
get on there and check it out. It's really neat.
So they've got some really, really cool stuff. I just thought I'd show that to you real quick as we begin our show here today. So check out Home Field Apparel, awesome, cool, vintage, premium, licensed collegiate apparel. All right. With that said, I have done the others here a little bit, so I wanted to hit Home Field this week while we are talking about some good stuff here. Of course, our Facebook. If you're on Facebook with us, you can support us by sending stars, or you can subscribe to our channel and to our page on Facebook, 99 cents a month. Stars help us as well as to earn money to help continue to make content for you guys. So we appreciate you guys. Just want to get that out of the way to start with. Looks like we've got a couple of people on. James McGill said he's been here all 3 days. Leanne Bryant. Hi, Leanne. She's somebody that follows us and is on the Facebook page. I do know that. And there she is again. So I just want to say hi to the couple of people we have on here with us so far, or at least chatting with us anyway. All right. So day 3 of SEC Media Days. And day 3 started out with Alabama. And for the first time in 18 years, it didn't start out with Nick Saban, which was a little bit different. However, Nick Saban was there, which even made it a little bit more weird because he was there. But I just don't get into the whole Alabama and DeBoer stuff yet. But what do you think? How different do you think it was to have Saban there?
A lot different. I mean, you're so used to seeing him on the sidelines. You're not used to seeing him, roaming the media table in the SEC network. And I thought there was a cool moment today. I think it was maybe before everybody got up on the stage, or was Jalen Milroe went over and hugged his coach. And I thought that was really awesome to see.
Yeah, he kind of run up to him too.
He run up to him, and Saban was it looked like Saban was cracking some jokes at him and having a good time with him. And
well, this was towards the end. This was on the Paul Feinbaum show.
Yeah, that was the end. Yeah.
Well, now that was what you're talking about is kind of at the beginning there.
Oh, at the beginning, yeah.
But what I'm fixing to get into, this kind of happened at the end. This was on the Paul Feinbaum show. There was a guy on there that he thinks, and there's not many in the media that are saying this. There was a guy on there in the media, and his name was Mike, and it's not SEC Mike, but I can't think of his last name. But he's been in the media for like 30 some years. And he was on the Paul Feinbaum show, and he thinks that in the end here that Saban will not be done coaching. So course, you know Paul Feinbaum. He has to jump on something when somebody says something like that. So, he was kind of hitting this towards the end here before we come on the air. And I kind of wanted to start with this. Do you guys think there's a possibility that Nick Saban coaches again in college football? Or do you think he's done? Let me throw out a couple of things for you, okay? Let's say that Ryan Day doesn't get over the Michigan hump, or that Ryan Day, you know what I'm saying? Or something happens and they fire Ryan Day. It's not out of the realm of crazy possibilities with the roster that Ohio State has and the talent that they have. If they would just throw bank at Nick Saban when they fire Ryan Day, is it really that crazy to think about?
Not really. I mean, the thing about Saban, he's done all that he felt like he could accomplish at Alabama. And I'm not saying that he's going to jump right into it really quick, but if he was to go back into coaching, I feel like that he would do an LSU, Michigan State type thing the next, like he did before.
Go back to LSU or go back to Michigan State?
Not at that level, because what he did at Alabama is probably not going to be replicated by many coaches. He's the GOAT.
I think he's been at the top for so long. If he was to come back, I think he's going to want the top notch, and Ohio State definitely could offer that. Here's another one. Here's another one. What happens if Lincoln Riley lays an egg in the Big Ten?
Yeah, but is Saban really going to go to USC out Cal?
I'm just throwing it out. It's out Southern Cal, and I don't think so. Ohio State really is intriguing to think about.
It is. My biggest thing today, just by watching all of this, the SEC media days, is how Kalen DeBoer handled himself. He handled himself.
We'll jump right into that. I mean, of course, and you're talking about the way he handled himself. Imagine not only following the legend of Nick Saban, imagine your very first big-time media situation when you are following the legend and he is literally sitting at the table watching
with you
as you speak.
And here's another thing too. He left Alabama in a very good position to succeed. They lost Caleb Downs to Ohio State. They lost Isaiah Bond to Texas, but they got plenty of studs on both sides of the ball. They got Jalen Milroe. They got the Law kid. They're going to be good. And DeBoer is one heck of an offensive minded coach. He led Washington to
rarely ever loses, guys. You look at his record everywhere he's been.
And he led Washington to an undefeated season last year with 12 wins in the Pac-12 championship. I'm just going to be honest with you. Don't sleep on Alabama. I know everybody's saying, well, Alabama's going to have a down year. Alabama's going to, not be the Alabama of old. But he left some pieces at Alabama for this year coming that can win the national championship with the right coaching around it and the right opportunity. And, even with their schedule's kind of tough too, but it's Alabama. It wouldn't be.
So, just to start out with, I thought Kalen DeBoer stepped up to the mic in his very first major press conference at SEC Media Days with 1,300 media right in front of him, including Nick Saban right in front of him. And I thought he handled himself like a star, like with class, like a star. I thought he was great. And then, on top of that, the man is a winner.
Everywhere he goes.
His record is insane.
Everywhere he's been.
If you look at his record, I mean, it wasn't all Division I, okay? So I'm not going to sit here and act like it was, because a major part of it wasn't, all right? But coaching football and getting players to buy in is still the same, and no matter what level you're on, you have to be at the top of that level to win like he has.
Top, yeah.
I mean, you have to be at the top to win like he has, no matter what level you're on. I don't care if you're coaching high school.
And I'll say this to add this. Who would have thought that, last year he was coaching Washington, and all of a sudden, bam, Nick Saban retires and the Alabama job comes open like that quick.
Within days. I mean, within a week.
Within a
all
week.
Of that. I'm talking about the championship game. I'm talking about Saban retires and Alabama hires him. It all happened within a week.
And you're basically at one of the top schools in the SEC in a football school. How will he handle that pressure is my question.
And here's the real kicker. So this was on Paul Feinbaum as well. There was a young guy that is his job in the media for Alabama is to engage the fans with surveys. All right. Since Saban retired till today, when he took the mic at the SEC media days and took the podium, this guy has been doing some, talking to fans, and 95% of the Alabama fan base is happy with the job that DeBoer has done so far since the day he was hired. That's insane.
Yeah,
I mean, we're talking about a fan base who has been who has had Nick Saban and won 6 national titles in 17 years, and they lose the guy, and then 95% of the fan base is happy with the transition.
Yeah, and a lot of times that fan base loses their mind when they lose a game. They
do, and that's one reason why it's so insane to think about that 95% of the fan base is saying that they're happy with the way Kalen DeBoer has handled everything so far.
Here's my biggest question, Brad. Kalen DeBoer is a proven winner. We all get that. He was at Washington, and below that, like you said, in Division II, whatnot. But he's going into the SEC. He's not been in the SEC yet. That's a whole nother world. That's a whole nother animal. Like, how does he handle?
And when you look at their schedule, Alabama, is Alabama. They don't play a weak schedule. They play a tough schedule.
They don't. I got their schedule pulled up. They play Western Kentucky, South Florida. They play Wisconsin. They play Georgia at home, at Vanderbilt, South Carolina at home. They play at Tennessee, Missouri at home, at LSU. Then they come home and play non-con with Mercer. And then they finish up with at Oklahoma and Auburn at home. So
they play at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
They play Auburn. They play Missouri, who is not going to be any slouch.
It'll be a slouch, no.
They play Tennessee.
That's on the road. Yeah.
They play Ole Miss, I'm pretty sure, right?
No, they don't play Ole Miss this year.
They don't play Ole Miss this year?
Not this year.
Okay. Well, there you go, Kiffin. Got it all wrapped up for you.
wrapped like a silver present.
Anyways, that was yesterday. We were talking about him. But anyways, I think that this whole time we've been doing these, we've been doing kind of the ceiling and the floor of our expectations here, on the teams as we go through these. And, the ceiling, of course, with Alabama is an undefeated season. I mean, that's their expectations.
The floor for me would probably be 9 or 10 wins. With what they got offensively, they might be one of the top offenses in the country.
Well, Jalen Milroe, the last 5 or 6 games last year, was one of the best quarterbacks in the country.
He took over. Yeah.
Now, he started rough, but the last 5 or 6 ball games, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Now, new offense, new offensive mind, lost Isaiah Bond.
They did get back Malachi Moore though. That was a big plus. So
they did, and I think the offensive line is going to be improved here for Alabama as well. One of the big offensive linemen transferred from Washington, with Kalen DeBoer to come in here with the Alabama offensive line, because their offensive line the last years has really been one of their weaker points.
Yeah, it's not been up to Alabama standards.
For Alabama, it's been one of their weaker positions, I think. But
I'll tell you to me what concerns me about this Alabama team is the secondary. How are they going to shore up some of those weaknesses in the secondary? They got Malachi Moore. They got a few guys that come back last year that's coming back this year. How do they fix that secondary that had trouble at times last year? Because it was at times
Christian Story, just so you know, one of their safeties who played a lot last year transferred to Kentucky.
Yeah. So
just saying. So they did lose a few guys. It wasn't many, but the few that they did lose were stellar. I mean, Caleb Downs was spectacular as a freshman.
Yeah,
he's at Ohio State.
Yeah, he was really good. Yeah.
I mean, he was spectacular as a freshman. Let's just call a spade a spade. He was absolutely spectacular as a freshman. Close to being All-American as a freshman. I mean, honestly, he was that good. And losing him to Ohio State hurts. I mean, no school, no matter how big, Ohio State, Alabama, whatever, I mean, can lose players like that and it not hurt a little bit. Now, I realize they got people to plug in because they're loaded with 4- and 5-star players, but not every 4- and 5-star player is the same. Caleb Downs had a motor and speed on the field and just a knack for the ball that's hard to replace sometimes.
Not many can possess that.
Right. I mean, they're not all the same. So, but you were talking about their secondary, so that's the reason why I wanted to bring up, Caleb Downs leaving, Christian Story leaving. That's 2 in their secondary that they counted on last year that's gone, that transferred out after Saban left. So their secondary probably is one of the, question marks.
What Saban said, if you listen to him, what was it, the first day of the media days, he said that their secondary was probably the reason why they wouldn't get to the SEC championship. That's why he had Texas and Georgia. He said their secondary needs a lot of work.
Yeah. I mean, losing a couple of big pieces like that does not help. So, we talked about their ceiling being 12-0. I'm going to be, I think they're going to be really good. I think floor is probably 9-3. 10-2 would probably satisfy the Alabama fans as long as 10-2 gets them to the college football playoff. In his first year, if Kalen DeBoer can get them to 10-2 and get them to the new 12-team college football playoff, I think Alabama fans will be pretty happy. What do you think?
I think so. Yeah.
First year,
you can't beat that. So,
yeah, I mean that's what I think. So, that's where I think Alabama is right now. Kalen DeBoer is going to be fantastic. I think if you give him 4 years to win a national title, I think that could possibly happen with Kalen DeBoer. I think he's that good of a coach. If you give him the time and you give him 4 years to build his mark down in Tuscaloosa, I think within 4 years at Alabama, I think he is a good enough coach to win a national title within 4 years at Alabama. At Alabama. That's just what I think. He's impressive. All right, so we're going to go from Bama to Florida. And, John, it has been a long time. There is literally no buzz at all about this Florida team.
I don't know.
Honestly, it's been a long – I can remember some back in the early 80s, 83, 84. I can remember a few, but I was a young boy when, 8, 9, 10 years old. It's been a long time. There is literally nobody's talking about. There's no buzz whatsoever about Florida.
They're not. No. And I don't know.
It's wild.
And I don't
SEC
know whether
media day, there's no talk, no mention of Florida.
And I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Could be both.
Billy Napier, come to the mic today. This is his third season. He's only been there 2 years. This is his third season. The problem is that he has had 2 losing seasons. He's missed the bowl both times at Florida.
Well, I'll say this, that they've got to show some improvement, or, with this expanded SEC, with Oklahoma and Texas coming in, they're going to have to improve, or they're going to be swallowed up.
I'm going to be honest with you, John. Every prediction that I see that lists the teams, I don't see any of them that have Florida higher than 12. None.
And I remember a time when Florida was the team that you did not want to play on the schedule. They was always you circled that game. And now it just seems like they've become the laughingstock of the SEC in regards of.
From 12 to 16 is the bottom quarter of the SEC, okay, or 13 to 16.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're Florida and you're in that bottom 13 to 16, 12 to 16 range, we are finally 2-1 here. Let's just call a spade a spade. We're talking about a coach who's on the hot seat in year 3, if you ask me.
I'm with you. I just don't. The schedule is tough.
The schedule is, I think, the toughest in the country, or one of the toughest.
Listen to this, though. This is what really bothered. This is what really gets me. They went 6-7 with a first-round draft pick in Anthony Richardson.
Yep.
And the 2003 year, they needed a little bit more improvement, and they regressed to 5-7.
Yep.
And
Two losing seasons.
And now we're at this point. And I'm going to go as far as say this. This schedule is absolutely daunting. This schedule is absolutely brutal. If Billy Napier does not get to a bowl game, or even, I won't even say a bowl game, maybe 6-6, I don't think he keeps his job.
I mean, let's be honest. Does 6-6 even keep his job?
That's pushing it. Like,
I don't know for sure.
Because I'm going to break it down for you right here. They start out with Miami. An improved Miami, will you? That's going to be very much improved.
If you guys don't know the name Cam Ward,
he's tough. He plays for Miami.
You should get acquaintance to the name Cam Ward. I'm telling you. He's a good quarterback.
And they play Texas A&M at home. But the back end of the schedule is absolutely murder's row. They play at Tennessee, Georgia, at Texas, LSU at home, Ole Miss, and at Florida State.
Yep.
Now tell me.
That's the last 6 games of the year.
Now tell me, out of those games, how many of those are they going to win?
I honestly, I think it's L. Like I don't.
And this is not to mention. And this is not to mention the fact that they've also lost to Kentucky the last few years. They've got them on the schedule at home early in the season, well, late in the year. But they've struggled with in the past 3 to 4 years, plus this schedule that they got now with losing to Kentucky. Yeah. Billy Napier, I'm going to say this. This is College SportsCast, summer edition, SEC Media Days. You better get to a bowl game. You better figure a way out to get to a bowl game, because if you don't, I think they'll be lucky to even get he'll be lucky to keep his job. And they play UCF too. That's another one on the schedule.
They do play UCF.
And
they have 3 power conference non-conference teams. They play Miami, UCF, and Florida State.
Miami
that is 3 of their 4 non-conference games.
And Miami's not going to be a cakewalk, because they're going to be much improved with Cam Ward at quarterback. That's not a gimme game.
Well, let's get that. So we've talked about their daunting schedule. We've talked about the position they're in. Kind of run through with me what you saw from Napier today at the podium. Do you think that he came there with confidence? Do you think that he seems lacking in anything? I mean, what did you see when Napier took the podium today at SEC Media?
I felt like he was upbeat. He talked about how he loved his team. You know, he thought for the first time that they had some stability, depth, leadership, whatnot. But you can say all that. You can tell everything to the media until you prove it on the field, and they've yet to do that under his leadership. It's just words, Brad. I mean,
so depth is where they have fallen off the most. So
very. I remember a time. I'll say this:
if you look at their starters, they still have 4 and 5 star people starting. Okay, it's the second and third string that in football plays a lot, guys. I mean, the starters don't play all game. I mean, your second and third string play a lot in these SEC games, And especially when you like have a few injuries, nagging injuries, people miss 1 or 2 games throughout the year on top of any kind of major, but people miss some games.
Well,
So depth matters, especially in the SEC.
the thing that really got me today was he said change doesn't happen overnight. He was talking about timing. Me and you talked about this before the show started. He said, when I took this job, work needed to be done. And he felt like he was on schedule. But my goodness, we're at week 3. We're at what, year 3? I mean, I get that it takes time to build things, but this is Florida we're talking about. One of the top.
Florida doesn't build, they reload.
No, they just reload. And Florida has not been out on a level like Florida, Alabama, probably since Urban Meyer.
So here's my thing. Where Florida's been the last 3 or 4 years, I think they're going to have to build. Okay. But before, I think Dan Mullen done a stellar job compared to what Billy Napier's done.
Yeah, he
it ain't even close. If you ask me.
Light and day.
I mean, it's not even close.
Now I'll say this: he lost some games that he shouldn't, but at the same time, they competed every single night.
The year before they fired him, he won the SEC East and went to the SEC championship game
against Alabama, wasn't it? It was Alabama.
Yeah, they won the SEC East the year before they fired him. I mean, but here's what I'm going to say is this: Florida has fell off enough now, and their rosters fell off enough. I just talked about the depth. They've fallen off enough now that you do have to rebuild.
You do.
You do have to rebuild now. But
unfortunately.
But where Florida has always been and what Florida fans expected when Billy Napier was hired wasn't to rebuild. They wanted to just reload and be Florida.
Bill says that he couldn't recruit Dan Mullen. But I will say this about Dan Mullen. He's one of the best quarterback coaches in the country. He develops good quarterbacks. Take Dak Prescott, for example. Dak Prescott is probably one of the top quarterbacks in the league now. So he's a good quarterback developer.
If you want to talk about recruiting, go look at your 2025 recruiting class and see where Florida's at.
They're not anywhere close.
There's a problem, is all I'm going to say.
And Houston is not the problem.
What? I've never seen that before, and I ain't even saying it. But go look at the 2025 recruiting class and tell me that Dan Mullen couldn't recruit. That's all I want to say. Because I mean, I could recruit like that at Florida. I mean,
let me ask you this, since we're towards the end of this. What is your ceiling and floor for this team?
I'm going to be honest with you. Making a bowl is their ceiling. With this schedule, finding a way to go 6-6, 7-5 would be an unthinkable stretch for me for this team. Is it absolutely out of the possibility? Probably not. But my realm says 6-6.
Would 7-5 keep his job?
Probably.
But at Florida, those standards are not acceptable.
7-5 would probably keep his job. Here's the thing with 6-6. 6-6 might get him to a bowl game. What happens if he loses that bowl game and has 3 straight losing seasons?
6 and 7. Yeah.
I'm just saying. People think bowl games are everything.
Bill brought up a good point.
What happens if Billy Napier does the unthinkable and gets this team with this schedule to 6 and 6, and everybody's all happy and they're going to a bowl game in December, and he gets to the bowl game and loses, and they're 6 and 7 again?
Bill said, why couldn't he win when he got his guys up there? I want to hear your explanation on that, Dan Mullen.
Listen, he was fired in the middle of his 4th season after going like 27 and 8 or something, 27 and 9 or something. I mean, but we're talking about that he couldn't win, and we've got 2 losing seasons with Billy Napier, and you're sitting here saying 4 and 8 is your guess for this year. But we're still talking about Dan Mullen couldn't win. I don't get it when it comes to, like, it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't compute. I mean, the numbers show that is entirely false and completely the opposite. I mean,
I think for me with Mullen,
what it was is that Dan Mullen went to Lexington, Kentucky, and got his ass beat.
I feel, and that's
and
what I
Florida fans couldn't stand it.
That's what I feel cost him his job.
And their press couldn't stand it because they had lost twice in 4 years to Kentucky. This was with Dan Mullen in charge, and they couldn't stand it. And that's the truth of the matter. I mean, honestly, that's the truth right there. They could not stand that they went to Lexington, Kentucky, and got their ass beat.
Now, to be fair, Bill, there was a few games where he got blown out, but there were some games where he competed with teams. And I think that's where Brad –
look at the guy's record, even at Florida. Don't tell me he wasn't winning games. If you want to talk about a coach who's not winning games, look at the one you have right now, Billy Napier.
Yep.
I mean, it's not even close. It don't even compute. So we're going to go into this, and I said 6 and 6 is probably the ceiling. I think 4 and 8 is probably the floor.
Yeah.
I really do. I feel like 4 and 8 is probably the floor. I mean, and if that happens, I don't see how there's any way in the world he survives.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any way he survives? Because I don't.
Probably not. Not if he wins 4 games. He's probably getting sent back to Louisiana. Unfortunately, he's probably not going to be in Florida anymore.
All right, so we are moving on. We are going to be featured on the Real Fresh channel this season, and I am going to let Howie Fresh talk to you guys a little bit about his YouTube channel, the Real Fresh channel.
You need new entertainment. You need full-length content. You need the Real Fresh channel. Hey, I'm How Fresh from the Real Fresh channel. Subscribe today on YouTube. We have new content. We are a network of podcasters putting out new stuff every single day. Whether you need sports, pro or college, whether you need comedies, whether you need pop culture, whether you need wrestling. We've got so much content on there. Gaming. Check it out. Live, not live. We've got it all. The Real Fresh channel. Subscribe today.
All right, guys, that was Howie Fresh. We are featured on the last 2 shows. Day 1 and day 2 are up on his channel as we speak. go like and subscribe. Watch on his and ours. We would be grateful for both. We're trying to build our YouTube as well, but we are trying to do both. So go check out Howie Fresh on the Real Fresh channel. All right. Now we're moving on to Mississippi State. Mississippi State has another first-year head coach, which is a little strange to say and a little strange to think about because they had a first-year coach there last year. And they are in a tumultuous time. I mean, really, to be quite honest with you, I mean, they lost Mike Leach in December of 2022. They hired his defensive coordinator last year. He did not make good offensive decisions with quarterback coming back and offense and did not have a good year. And now you have Jeff Lebby coming in, who has spent 2 years at Oklahoma. Before that, he was the offensive coordinator at Ole Miss. He was offensive coordinator at Oklahoma, and done really good stuff with Dylan Gabriel at Oklahoma. He runs a good offense. But, John.
I do got to say something really quick. This was something.
Hang on, John. They are decimated by the transfer. They have almost zero returning starters. I mean, seriously, they have like 2 or 3 or something like that.
10 returning starters. They have 10.
10?
Yep.
Well, offense, they don't have hardly none.
Yep. And they start out with on the road against a very good Arizona State team in the non-con. And this little comment today, I was kind of wanting to bring it up while we're on this. Mississippi State linebacker John Lewis, their phrase at the media day, Ole Miss was like, "Come to the SIP," right? Well, John Lewis mentioned today, I'm going to read it here. It says, "It's overrated. This is our state," Lewis said. This was a post according to Chris Lowe, ESPN, writes for the SEC and ESPN. Everybody knows that. We run the SIP because we run Mississippi. We've been saying it. They're just following us, so it's okay. They literally want to be us. So a lot of Mississippi State Ole Miss barrage at SEC Media Days. It just means more.
Yeah. So Bill, Toledo is a really good team out of the MAC, to be honest.
They're really good.
They're a team that could challenge and win the MAC. They're one of, I think, 2 teams that I think could win the MAC this year. And, of course, they won last year. So, I mean, you're right. I mean, that could be a challenge for them, to be honest with you.
Well, and 2, he brings in Blake Shapen from Baylor. He threw for over 5,000 yards last year and 36 touchdowns for Baylor. He played in a pro-style offense. That's
what Jeff Lebby does. He plays a vertical style offense. He does. Yeah.
And here's a key stat that really opened up at me. Lebby's offense at Oklahoma last year ripped off 82 plays of 20 yards or more. Mississippi State's offense produced only 42 such plays.
Yeah.
Does that not – one of the worst offenses in the country?
Yeah, it was. That's the reason why he got fired.
If they can figure this out and get this train rolling, I think Lebby can do really good things here. But they're going to have to eat and waste this year for it to improve.
Zach Arnett needed to hire an air raid guy to use with that system and his quarterback and everything, and he just didn't do it. And he paid the price, to be quite honest with you, because Zach Arnett, a very good defensive mind and defensive coordinator, very good.
Now I will
say, Mike Leach, he just didn't make good decisions. Now, you got these players that are leaving, and you are bringing in Blake Shapen, and he is a good quarterback, and he can sling it all over the field. The problem here is who is he slinging it to? That's what I say.
Well, they bring Whitmore back. I think that helps. But at the same time, Creed Whitmore, he was a receiver last year for Mississippi State, for those that don't know. I just think, it's just going to take some time. Like I said,
in the SEC, you got to have more than one or two weapons.
You at least got to have three at the most. I think they're going to be competitive. I think that they're going to be a lot better than they was a year ago. But I feel like what Bill said was right on target. I mean, they're just going to have to eat some of this season in which their schedule does not benefit them really well.
That's where I was going to go next. Have you taken a look at their schedule? Because we've talked about some that have tough schedules. Take a look at Mississippi State's schedule.
Yep. They play Eastern Kentucky the first weekend. Then they play at Arizona State. They play Toledo at home, Florida at home, at Texas, at Georgia, home against A&M, Arkansas, UMass, at Tennessee, Missouri at home, and at Ole Miss. And that's just –
did you hear their 4 away games in the SEC? Say they're 4 away games.
At Texas, at Georgia, at Tennessee, and at Ole Miss.
Whoa. I mean, that's insane.
Crazy. But – to be fair, they don't play them back-to-back. Like they play them in between weeks, but still.
But you only have 4 away games, and their 4 away games, they play 3 of the top teams in the country. And then they get Tennessee.
Welcome to the SEC. And
they get Oklahoma. Didn't you say Oklahoma?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Bill has a point.
Is insane.
Bill's right though. They really didn't do Lebby any favors in year one. Like
absolutely not. This schedule is insane. I mean, honestly, Toledo is tough. They'll beat Eastern Kentucky. They'll beat Mercer or whoever the one there. But
UMass. They play
UMass. But I mean, Toledo is not going to be a cakewalk. And you look at the SEC schedule they have, Arkansas maybe. I don't think they're beating Missouri. I don't think they're beating Oklahoma. They're not winning those 4 away games. I mean,
they basically what they did, they threw Jeff Lebby to the wolves in year one, basically.
We've been talking about highs and lows here, ceiling and floor. It's a stretch to look at this schedule and to know what their first year and, trying to put in a new system with new players mostly and everything else. It's a stretch to look at this and say they can get to 5 wins.
They'll be.
I don't even think a bowl.
They might not even be lucky to get 5 wins.
That's what I said. I think it's a stretch to get them to 5 wins. I mean, honestly, I think that actually might be their ceiling.
Ceiling for me is probably 4 or 5 wins at the most. And and this is one of the most passionate. This is one of the most passionate fan bases in all of college football, and they will get back to where they need to be because Lebby brings that Mike Leach type style of offense to this program. And at the same time,
remind you guys that they were 9-4 and won a major bowl just 2 years ago under Mike Leach. Now, the bowl game was won by Zach Arnett because Leach died in between the end of the season and the bowl game with a heart attack.
The fall off with Zach Arnett is very odd to me. The way things were handled, like just bringing him. They should have brought somebody in there that had air raid responsibilities and knew how to, because that's what Mississippi State was running. And they took all that out and they just threw it out the window and tried to change everything.
And kept the quarterback that had been running it with Leach the whole time. And he looked terrible after leading the SEC for 2 straight years.
Was never the same quarterback.
So you're right, Bill. Transfer portal killed him. Coaching changes
killed him.
Because they've already had 2 in less than 2 years.
In 2 years, yeah.
Less than a year and a half, they had 2 coaching changes. Yeah. So, I mean, Bill says 2 and 4 would be their floor and ceiling. I said 3 and 5. Whatever. It's not going to be good in Starkville this year for Mississippi State fans. Cowbells are going to sound kind of sad
this year.
I mean, I just think they are. So, all right. Then we get to Texas, guys. Texas, the first year in the SEC. I don't know if you guys caught any of it or not, but I thought Sark was pretty impressive today, to be quite honest with you.
He was.
I thought he, first time there, being in the SEC. I said the same thing about Brent Venables yesterday, first time. I thought he took over the room. I thought he was very confident. I thought he had all the answers. And is, like I said, very confident in himself, in his players, and his team. I thought he looked the part today. Sark did.
Oh, I thought he did too. He spoke highly of the SEC. He spoke highly of Nick Saban.
He did.
There were so many questions. It really came quick too.
It's odd that Saban kind of helped save Sark's career and Kiffin's both.
Yeah, it changed his whole career.
That's kind of left behind. I mean, he did the same thing with Kiffin too, and now he's done the same thing. I mean, he done it with Sark too, and both of them were Pete Carroll guys, and had a bunch of success, and then bottomed out.
Here's the thing that.
And Saban saved them both, which is a little ironic that now Saban's gone and they're both in the SEC left behind.
Here's the thing that I need for Texas to do. You know how momentum is, Brad. It can change on an instant, in a flash. Texas is probably going to be a preseason top 5 team here in a couple of weeks. They're probably going to be second in the preseason poll. But unless the Longhorns can keep this sustained success and keep the ball rolling, and I'm not saying that they're going to fall off. Quinn Ewers is back. They got Isaiah Bond out of the transfer portal from Alabama. The defense is going to be really good. I'm not saying that.
They got
a
very good running back as well.
Very good running back, Baxter. They're going to have to sustain this, or it's going to look like that it's just the same old Texas. You get what I'm saying?
Here's my deal. And we have talked about schedules with every one of these teams. Go look at Texas's schedule and tell me where are the landmines? Okay? I mean, yes, I fully know that Texas and Georgia play each other. That's probably the biggest game. I think that could be one of the biggest games in the SEC this season, to be quite honest with you. is the Georgia-Texas game.
Well,
Maybe the biggest game.
And I say this too, Texas lost a lot from that team a year ago. I think they had 11 draft picks. 5 of them was in the first and second round, I believe. The biggest thing is they brought back Quinn Ewers. They got 15 total starters back. And I'll say this too. The biggest thing for Texas is they hauled in one of the top transfer and recruiting classes in the country. Top 5. Like Lane Kiffin even mentioned it. He said they have one of the most elite rosters in the country. And
they do. So here's my deal. That Georgia-Texas game, I'm going to be honest with you. We have some people in here saying that, Bill says that Texas could win the league, to be honest. That Georgia-Texas game, I think, is going to possibly determine at least one of the 2 that make it to the SEC championship game.
Or the college football playoff, the 12-team playoff. It'll determine one of those teams will be. We talked about Oklahoma yesterday.
Yeah, Oklahoma was in yesterday's show. Shane.
I'll send you a link later.
Yeah, you can watch it. You can watch it later.
I'll send him a link. Texas. Here's Texas' schedule for those that want to know. They play Colorado State starting out the year. They go to Michigan, which will be an early test for them. Michigan's breaking in a new head coach and new quarterback. Then they play UTSA, UL Monroe, home against Mississippi State, home against Oklahoma, Georgia at home, at Vanderbilt, home against Florida, at Arkansas, Kentucky at home, and at Texas A&M.
Okay, we just said Mississippi State's away games in the SEC. Go through that again and tell me what Texas' away games are in the SEC.
At Vanderbilt, at Arkansas, and at Texas A&M.
What? I mean, what? That don't even make sense. I mean, so
See, Bill.
Oklahoma game. So the Oklahoma game this year, even though it's a rivalry game and it's in a neutral stadium, is considered an away game for them. So they get 4 home games in the Oklahoma game and only 3 away games.
Here's the thing.
And they get Vandy, Arkansas, and Texas A&M.
The only one that's really hard out of that's probably going to be Texas A&M because mostly because it's a rivalry game.
I mean, that's putrid, if you ask me, honestly.
And I'm going to say this. Bill brought up a point about losing 1 or 2 games. This year, I don't think it's going to matter as much because you got the 12-team playoff. This year, you can. I
don't even think that it's not like you have to be 12-0. 10-2 is going to get you in.
3 might get you in. Depends on
but I think 10-2 will get you in, and it really is not going to matter. I mean, honestly. So, I mean,
I could see a way that Texas, Georgia, Alabama, and the 2 dark horses in the SEC for me would be Missouri and Tennessee. I could see all 4 of them getting into the college football playoff, the 12-team playoff.
Mine's Missouri and Ole Miss.
Well, if it all, but the thing about it is, if you got 3 losses, you're going to have some help to get that to slide into that 12-team playoff.
You are around the country. I mean, you absolutely
you're going to have somebody that lose to somebody.
Not helping the SEC.
No,
you're going to have help around the country.
You're going to have help, yeah. So where do you see this Texas team, their floor and their ceiling?
Listen, John, the personnel The coach, he's been impressive the last couple of years. Before this, I wasn't all that high on Sark. I thought he was a little arrogant. I thought that
did you hear him today? He said they was talking about the fight. Was it the fight?
But he didn't show that. Like, if you go back and look a few years ago, he was really arrogant and just like, but he's really toned all that down. I think he's changed their personnel. I mean, let's be honest.
He had that little snap.
If they can beat Michigan and beat Georgia, this team could go 12-0.
He had that little snap in the bowl game with that
was a couple of years ago. Yeah.
He had that little incident.
And he's always kind of done some of those things, but the last 2 years has been different. Sark today, I thought Sark killed it.
And even when they mentioned the 5 and 7, the games that they lost, 5 and 6, something like that. He said it sucked around here. He said it sucked for me, sucked for my players. He said it's never good to have that feeling. And I felt like he killed it today. He done a really good job. Quinn Ewers did a really good job. This team's loaded from top to bottom, personnel wise. Probably one of the.
I'm going to say 10-2, but you're right. I mean, 9-3. I mean, they
next
could
to Georgia.
Find a way. Oklahoma could always beat them. Michigan could beat them. Texas A&M, away could beat them possibly at the end of the year. I mean, then you got the Georgia. I mean, they could find a way to lose 3 games.
Next to Georgia.
I think it's very unlikely.
Next to Georgia, though, in terms of talent, Texas is probably the next best in the SEC.
In the SEC, yes.
Yeah.
In the SEC, I think so. And you said they'll be number 2.
Most likely.
Ohio State's going to be up in there.
No, I was talking SEC. They'll be number 2 in the SEC.
Yeah, I think they'll be number 2 in the SEC. Yes,
because Georgia's probably going to be number 1.
Yeah, I think so. I think they'll be number 2 in the SEC. Yeah. Right now, I think they're one of 4 teams, and I'll go into this more as we go along on a new season here. But I think they're one of 4 teams that really have a chance to win a national title.
I do. I'm with you.
I'm just saying. And Texas is one of them. So, and we'll go through this. But now I've got probably 4, 5, 6 other teams that I think that can challenge these 4. But preseason, if I had to look and just look at rosters and look at schedules and see, I think there's 4 teams that kind of stand out above the rest.
Yeah,
we did. LSU was the first day 1. We did that on Monday.
Monday, yeah.
This is our 3rd day summer series. You can find these on our YouTube channel, or you can go and find us on Facebook as well. But probably the easiest way would be to find College SportsCast on YouTube, and you can see it and watch the show.
One of those teams that you said that can compete with these teams is Oregon. I said that yesterday. Oregon's one of those teams.
Okay. You want me to say my 4 teams?
Go ahead while we're here.
I mean, I already mentioned it, but my 4 teams that I think are kind of head and shoulders above everybody else, I got Georgia, Texas, and I got Ohio State and Oregon.
That was fine. And my next crew after that, it's basically a crapshoot.
I think there's 6, 7 teams, under that can challenge them on the football field. I'm not saying that they can't, but if you look at their roster and look at the talent and how they're loaded up, I think that those 4 teams are above everybody else.
And I'll even go as far as say that Oregon might have the second best offense in the country behind Ohio State with Dylan Gabriel. And
I think there's 4 teams that's kind of head and shoulders above everybody else right now, preseason roster-wise. I think there's 6 or 8 teams that can challenge them throughout the year and maybe more, but at least that many. And it'll be fun in a 12-team playoff to see how all this plays out. It's going to be a fun year. So you're muted.
what will be fun too in the same instance is seeing some of these games on campuses, some of the early games, because it's going to be.
I can't wait. I can't wait for that. For the playoffs, that's going to be so much fun. You have no idea. I am so hyped for that.
It sort of reminds you of the NFL playoffs where they have the first couple of games and stuff. It's going to be kind of
man. It's going to be in the crowds and the home crowds. It's going to be amazing. I cannot wait.
I'm
Can't wait,
excited.
y'all. I'm not even playing. Not at all. All right, man. That's it. That's our 4 teams. That's our show. Tomorrow.
I got the schedule.
Tomorrow
is Arkansas. Tomorrow is Arkansas. They will open up with Sam Pittman. Andrew Strong, Taylor Green, and Landon Jackson will be their football players that will represent Arkansas. Texas A&M will start at 12:05. Mike Elko, Shemar Turner, Torian York, and Trey Zunn. The third coach is Hugh Freeze. Auburn's Peyton Thorne will be there. Eugene Asante, Keldrick Falk will be there. And the final team of the day will be Kentucky with Coach Mark Stoops, De'Eric Jackson, Marquise Cox, and Deion Walker. So tomorrow is Arkansas, A&M, Auburn, and Kentucky.
And we finally get to talk about Kentucky. Damn. We've been doing this all week.
Finally.
Half the media done be packed up and gone by the time Stoop gets to the podium tomorrow.
Yeah, they'll be ready to go home.
They'll be wore out.
Yeah.
By the time he gets there tomorrow. Right? All right. We're going to wrap this up. Just have a little bit of fun with you guys. So follow us on Facebook. Subscribe to us on YouTube. You can find us on our TikTok, our Instagram. You can find John and I or John Roberts at Drink Local Beham on Twitter. There is our Twitter handles. Been on the show. If you don't follow us on Twitter and would like to, there is our Twitter handles. And you can also find us on Greenville Sports Media. Some of our shows are on there, as well as I do a lot of writing on there. I've been doing show articles this week. I have done previews for each group of 5 conference preview articles. I also did one for Independence, which I included State and Washington State.
I'm not real sure when our the conference breakdown is. You mentioned something about it, but
so plan is on Tuesdays. Each Tuesday we'll break down conference previews starting July 30th. That's the plan. On Tuesday evening.
That's 2 weeks from now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the plan. So, but tomorrow, day 4.
I forgot to tell you. Guess what?
What's that?
One more day until college football 25 enters this household. I had to bring it up.
Tomorrow, day 4, SEC Media Days. We will finish our summer series tomorrow, talking about those 4 teams, Kentucky being one of them. If you're a Kentucky fan and follow us, please tell your friends, tell your mothers, tell your fathers, tell your brothers, and let's have a bunch of people on tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Then next week, Tuesday. I don't know the time yet because I won't know till I get there. But Tuesday, next week, July 23rd, I will be in Greenville, South Carolina to cover the SoCon football media days. And I get to be there with Jay of Greenville Sports Media and FurmanJobs.com. And he is a Furman media guy, and I get to go down there with him. They are at FCS. The SoCon is the Southern Conference. They're Division I, but they're in the FCS. They are also in the big leagues with NCAA and March Madness. But football, they are in with teams like Western Carolina is going to be a good one. Furman is going to be a good one. And Chattanooga are going to be some good teams to follow this year in that conference, just to give you a few. But that's what is coming up. So tomorrow and then July 23rd, you can catch me and Jay and Justin, and we will be at the SoCon Media Days. So, all right, we will see you guys tomorrow night. We hope you guys will join us. And like I said, y'all have a good night. Go Big Blue. And tell some friends that we're covering Kentucky tomorrow night.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.